Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today is Monday, July 21st. Today off the bat we took 8 trades, which is a little too much for a small account, but we did in the end manage to sneak out 9 cents. Not a whole lot, but it's important not to lose and go red than to win. So let's take a look. Off the pre-market, I was watching 3 stocks, PNM, BTOG, which is a continuation from last week, and RDHL. I'm going to point out here in a couple of seconds the things that I was watching on BTOG, which were leading me to believe that maybe at the open that it would kick up a little bit. However, that didn't turn out to be the case. So here I'm watching the volume, level 2, the ladder, and the only negative is the MACD, which you can see out there, which is starting to curl down. But the volume seems to be good, and I'm thinking, well, it might do okay. But in the ladder, you can see the sellers are starting to pile up there. And even though there are buyers in level 2, it it looks like they're having a battle. This is trading like a large float stock, and eventually, well, it breaks down. So at this point, we're hoping that it'll still kick up, but there's just too many sellers, and the MACD is just currently continues to curl down. It does continue to curl up on the bar chart, but it doesn't look like we're gonna do well. So at this point, this should have been my exit here. It would have been a very minor, less than $1 loss. But for the lack of not having anything else or anything better, and some other stocks that were a little too high on the price of $6, $7, I kept holding. So uh, that was a mistake on my part. So don't let that happen. If you see those things and you see those, the MACD should have been the clear indicator to me that it was not going to go up and that I shouldn't even taken taken the trade. So then MEIP was moving up, and this one was already at above $7, and I was taking a look at it and thinking of jumping in, but of course we can only do so with a small size. And right here, you'll look at the top of that candle there, how it comes down, and that sort of turned me off, and didn't take any trades. LMFA also came up, and that one was moving a little bit, but I had reservations on this stock, and I just didn't like the number of buyers. That there wasn't a large number of buyers to the number of sellers there, even though they had good volume. So I elected not to trade, but I did draw what I thought was going to happen, and I expected the stock to fall down below BWAP and then potentially have a second run and move up. And so I continue to watch it without taking any trades. And sure enough, we saw it break down, and in a minute you'll see it. It does curl. It does go up a little bit, but then it just simply falls again. And what I was watching here exactly at my point, right below the 20 EMA, and I had drawn a line there, expecting to take a trade because I expected it to reclaim. And looking at the volume, which is light, it was a risky situation, but for a small number of shares, it was okay to take a starter trade to see if it would have more power to move up way up to 425. The my red line way up at the top was around 437, which I thought would be the max that it could go higher. But this one just didn't have the volume. People weren't interested in it, so we had to hold it a little bit long. But eventually, uh, it did kick up enough to make a few cents, and didn't turn out to be a loser. But a lot of these stocks, the trades that we took, were a waiting game. The market didn't seem like it wanted to give us much, and typically that's what you need to do. You need to take what the market gives you. You can't force it. So here I moved ahead. We're still holding it, and you see that it's kicked up a little bit, but it's still unsure. And again, the volume and the MACD shows that it's curling down, so we let it go. We let it continue to hold, rather. We moved to SABS, which was a good price stock that was moving up. This was on a hold at 511 and halt, and it was just coming off the halt, and it's going to come off the halt in a minute. And what we're looking for is perhaps a dip and then a rip up, but it doesn't do that. It just goes straight up 30 cents. But we're watching the volume, and the volumes look good on all three charts. And we took a trade up there at the top, hoping for a little bit. And everything looks good. It looks like there's a lot of sellers, and I'm watching on the 5 minute chart there, watching the top of that high of day, and at that point it was time to get out. I didn't think that it would hit that orange line at all. So we're still holding LMFA, and we go back to it, and it's still following my line, which I was hoping that it would go higher. But at that point, you see that tail, and it was time to get out. So a squeaker. Going back to SABS again, and now if you see there, see a panhandle there building, and it looks like it's going to go up. So we jump in again, just a small position, small size. The MACD is still not sure that we should have taken it, looking at the MACD, but the volume on the 5 minute looks okay. Level 2 looks more or less okay. The ticker seems to be okay as well. And there's a little bit of a jump. Buyers come in, and however, I still don't think that it was going to kick up too much more. And at that point, I decided to just flatten out and take whatever I could. So it was one of those kind of days. Then we go to PNM, and there was an opportunity here, and what I'm looking at is the bar and the chart just going up above the 20 and above all these EMA lines. So it was a good buy, even though the volume on the 5 minute is starting to go low. And one of the issues with this stock is that it is trading like a large float stock. There's a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers, and it just seems to be having an issue right there off the VWAP, but it did cross, and it doesn't look like it's going to go. So at this point, we just opted to flatten out $1.98, which isn't too bad, and maybe come back to it a little later. And I do come back to it a little later. So we come back, and I'm looking, and the first indication that I shouldn't have taken the trade is the number of sellers up there on the ladder. There seems to be buyers, but on level 2, not a whole lot of buyers show up. And I think the only thing holding it up was probably hidden buyers, because the stock was not refusing to move, and it was tight around 118. I saw a potential of it perhaps moving up a little bit more, and so I jumped in. I jumped in at 116 and got filled pretty nicely. And I'm setting my stops because it just seems to be hesitating. One of the issues is I should have scaled out, and I have multiple opportunities to scale out here, and I should have gotten out, but I didn't. And this is what happens when you hope for more, when you wait and you think you're going to get more, it doesn't come, and it just draws you down into the red. So this turned out to be a losing trade. So 1 and 2 is a loser trade, and that was in the end a $19 loss. But hey, the market giveth, the market take it away. Had I scaled out sooner at those points that I was looking at where I had made $7, and even here I can squeeze out with a very minor loss, but I didn't. So those are the types of moves that you got to take a look at. That here, yeah, I took more, hoping for more, but it didn't happen. So these are good learning lessons that even though you look at all the indicators and you think that everything's going to be okay, it just doesn't happen. Had I scaled out of here, I would have been with a very minor loss, very little, just a few cents. And then it begins to break down, and then by that time, it's way too late. So what you have to do is sometimes with a small account is not take that many trades and give the market time. Lastly, OP, I had looked at it in pre-market, but I didn't think anything of it. But in here, we're looking at the ticker and looking at the volume on the 5 minute that was moving up, and it looked like it had a good opportunity. Here's another case where you'll see that there are a lot of sellers on the ladder and not a whole lot of buyers on level two. However, the stock was holding, and I was looking for that 75 cents a break and higher. So I went ahead and jumped in. Had I not taken other trades, I maybe would have taken 1,000 shares here and probably would have doubled the winnings. As it turns out that this stock did go higher and did make it up. It's having some issues here, but as you can see, there are less the number of bids and the asks, but it started to move up. And likewise, you can't sit and hold for a parabolic. That just doesn't happen all of the time. So at a certain point, or a certain level where you feel the strength of the stock has given you all that it can, you got to cut it. And hitting there the $19 right at the top as it turned red, it was time to go. And that saved our neck because you can see down here, it just fell. Okay, like and subscribe. Bye.